His camera stopped working again. So, welcome back, Michigan Block M, for the time being.
Well, they haven't seen the other videos yet, as they still have not uploaded. But
I know
they'll
this.
see eventually our problems.
You see the pain though, right? Considering it's been almost 4 hours and the it's still at 81%. Did I think something happened. I might have to restart. Oh my gosh, I've just been doing this all week. It gets to a high percentage and then it just stops.
You might have to take my suggestion seriously and actually go to a McDonald's to upload it.
I might take them to work and upload them at work.
Hey, that was another idea I had.
Probably have to do that. All right, but we're gonna roll through some basketball real quick since these take so long to upload. We're gonna try to be a little bit quicker with these. So starting off with Monday the 25th, since again everything's been hectic. Texas Tech and West Virginia. West Virginia ended up getting the 1-point win over Texas Tech, 88-87.
Impressive for West Virginia. They were down big time late, and they made a very big run at the end of the game. Matt McClung had 30 points, but Miles McBride had 24. Big 12 is a loaded conference, just like the Big Ten. It's more top-heavy than the Big Ten is, but it is still a very good conference, and those are just a few of the top few teams in the conference. So, pretty fun game, and West Virginia ended up coming on top.
Moving on to Tuesday, the 26th, Oklahoma getting the big upset win on the road against number 5 Texas, 80-79, a 1-point win.
Ooh. That game was pitifully bad. Texas, I have no idea how Oklahoma didn't just blow Texas off the floor. Texas in this game had 8 available scholarship players. 8 available scholarship players. And with 10 minutes to go in the second half, 4 of their guys had 4 fouls already. And another 2 had 3. They somehow only won that game by 1 point. That is pathetic. I'm sorry.
Very pathetic.
When you have an opposing team in that much foul trouble and you can't wipe them off the floor, you have problems. And they were short on people. So Texas had a miserable situation and you did nothing with it, but they still won the game. They almost blew it at the end too. They needed to, they had to purposely miss, and instead he completely missed the rim from the free throw line. So Texas had a big opportunity, threw it down the court, and ended up getting it instead, and they won by 1. But, wow, Oklahoma almost gave that away.
Yeah, and look at the next game here. Number 9 Alabama easily taking care of business against Kentucky, 70-59.
Not really. This game was very close all the way through. It was not until the last
couple
few
seconds.
Minutes. Yeah, it was until the last minute really that Alabama actually pulled away. It was pretty close throughout, but in the end, Bama ended up winning easily.
Mm-hmm. And then Auburn with the upset of number 12 Missouri, 88-82. So that's a big one. It's a big confidence booster for Auburn, who honestly is probably not making the tournament. But
they would have anyway because of sanctions. But
right.
Sharif Cooper's a really good player. He can play really well. He's really good. I've watched him play a couple times now. Looks pretty good. As for Missouri, this team is not designed to outscore opponents. This team is designed to shut down opponents and beat you defensively. And that's not what they did against Auburn. They ended up losing.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's a big win for Auburn. Like I said, they're not going to the tournament. Obviously, sanctions, and they're not good enough. But you always take the fun upset wins when you stink. And then Tennessee playing it very close with Mississippi State. Just kind of dancing with danger. 56-53.
We've been talking about the Blue Bloods all falling off a cliff and everyone not playing well. Tennessee has looked bad. There's been a lot of really good teams that started off the year really well and have just looked absolutely awful since. And Tennessee's one of them. This team has been absolutely pathetic, and whenever the next video uploads, you'll hear that Florida beat them, absolutely swamped them. They were at home, so they swamped them by 26. They got demolished by Missouri. Ended up being a 9-point game, but Missouri pretty much handled them throughout. And then they barely beat Mississippi State. So not very good for Tennessee. At least they won, but gotta be better.
Yeah, exactly. And then, well, it was nice. It was nice of you to hang in the rankings, St. Louis, but goodbye. You lost to Dayton, 76-71.
Well, for St. Louis, when you haven't played a single game in, I think,
they hadn't played anyone in their conference at all.
St. Louis hadn't played a game in 34 days. Because of COVID, they hadn't played a game in 34 days. And their first game came against Dayton as number 22 in the country.
And Dayton's not someone to mess with.
I can't blame St. Louis for a loss after a month-long layoff. I really can't.
Sucks, though.
At least
it was nice
they
to see
made
them.
it close. They made it close, which is really good, honestly.
Yeah. Moving on to Wednesday the 27th. Baylor just making Kansas State roadkill. 107-50. I saw Davian Mitchell, and I was like, wait a minute. Donovan Mitchell? No, Davian Mitchell. That explains why Baylor's so good. No, Davian Mitchell. And then moving on to the next game that we doesn't really talk about. Ohio State pulling away right at the end against Penn State. 83-79. Very close game.
Penn State basketball just seems to have Ohio State's number. I don't know why. They always seem to either be very close with them or pull off an upset. It is very weird, but it just seems to happen all the time. And really, Penn State had another opportunity and just blew it. So
yeah, and I mean, Penn State's one of those teams. It's like you can never underestimate, right? Like it's like, they're just there, and it's like you're always like, oh, they're not that good, and then they come out and start kicking your butt. So you always got to be prepared for Penn State, but
like Virginia Tech.
Oh my gosh! Yikes. Okay, number 14, Wisconsin. Pretty much handling Maryland. Maryland made it a little bit close and a little bit interesting near the end, but dominant first half. 18-point lead at halftime, but Wisconsin ended up keeping their lead and pulling away at the end. So good win.
The only reason Maryland lost the game was because of some really bad stretches. If they had just basically if they had been able to string an whole game together, they would have swept the Badgers. Of course, a couple episodes ago, don't remember what episode it was, but we talked about Maryland upsetting Wisconsin in the Kohl Center. Back in Xfinity Center, not the same case, but Maryland still tried, but just some bad stretches ended up being their downfall.
Yep, number 16, Florida State, again, taking care of business, but I can't make a case for that it was ever close. It was never really close.
It's Miami, Florida.
Yeah, they're not that great. Creighton taking care of business at the end of the game against Seton Hall. That was a very high-scoring first half, 54-44 at halftime.
And Seton Hall was winning.
Yeah, they were winning by 10 at halftime, and then Creighton had just a really good second half. They were winning by
16 with 11 and a half minutes to go in the second half.
Oh.
Seton Hall absolutely fell apart. And seeing that Creighton also is another one of those teams that's been falling off a cliff, that's not good to be losing to that kind of a team. That was a win that Seton Hall could have used and just
didn't get it. Virginia Tech taking care of business against Notre Dame.
It's Notre Dame.
Yeah. and then Clemson winning a close one against Louisville, but moving forward, they're one of the better teams in the ACC.
Clemson's such a weird team to figure out. They're
Clemson
all
and Syracuse together are both very weird teams. Trust me. Wow, here's the latest victim of Gonzaga. Gonzaga 90, San Diego 62. Okay, cool. Moving on. Houston beating Tulane 83-60. Okay, cool. Moving on. Kansas actually playing pretty oh my gosh. 19-18 at the end of the first half.
I kind of wanted to see this game, but instead I was at my young adult group, and I looked at the first half, and I'm like, oh, wow, good thing I didn't.
Oh, that's disgusting, but Kansas pulling away.
It was really bad. Kansas has also just not looked good. And people have wondered, is Kansas the next team of the Blue Bloods to fall out of the top 25? Are they the next team to have their downfall? Just like North Carolina and Duke and Kentucky, and we'll discuss what happens later. But not good for Kansas. They beat TCU, who's an okay team, but just not that great of a game.
Exactly. Moving on to Friday the 29th, Illinois getting a win that they desperately needed after losing a couple big games. Getting an 80-75 win at home against number 7 Iowa. That's a big one. That's a big one for the Fighting Illini.
This starts what will be a big tumble for Iowa. Of course, we talked about Indiana pulling off a massive upset against well, again, you'll see the video eventually, but
hopefully
we talked about Indiana beating Iowa 81-69. Very impressive game. Illinois gained a very good win, and like Stravinsky said, definitely one the Fighting Illini needed, especially if they wanted to stay in the Big Ten race, beat the top team. Very nicely done by Illinois. That was a fun game for sure.
Moving on to Saturday the 30th, Gonzaga beating Pepperdine 97-75. Okay, cool. Moving on. This is the SEC. Oh, this is also the SEC Big 12 Challenge. So this was this was a very fun weekend.
Just to highlight what the big games were, I'll just go over them before we read the scores. Alabama-Oklahoma was a really big matchup. As for the rest, Texas Tech, LSU, Florida, West Virginia, TCU, Missouri, all those were decent games. The only one canceled out of this group was Texas and Kentucky. Those two did not play. Who really cares?
Oh, no. Okay.
But Baylor, Auburn was another matchup.
Yep.
Oklahoma State and Arkansas. That wasn't a ranked game, but still a fun one nonetheless. Tennessee, Kansas was a really big one. And really, other than that, who cares about Mississippi State, Iowa State, and Kansas State, Texas A&M? Anyways, go ahead.
Fair enough. Baylor getting the 84-72 win over Auburn. Not really a surprise. I mean, that might be maybe the most vulnerable Baylor ever looked, which is not saying a lot.
Auburn stayed somewhat competitive, but Baylor's Baylor. They end up pretty much winning easily.
Exactly. Number 3, Villanova playing a close game against Seton Hall. Seton Hall came back in the end to make it kind of close, but Villanova pulled away from Seton Hall, so definitely not looking like Seton Hall is going to be making the tournament this year.
Crazy thing about Villanova and Seton Hall games, apparently, I think I probably mentioned this in the last game when Seton Hall just gave the game away to Villanova and completely blew it. And Nova's first game back, but I don't know. That probably might be in a video that still hasn't uploaded yet. But for Seton Hall and Villanova, these games, I think the last they said like 5 or 6 were decided by like 3 points. So these teams are almost always in close matchups, and Seton Hall tried to make a comeback in the end, but when you're down that big, you're not gonna come back. It's just not. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, Virginia Tech absolutely throttling number 8 Virginia 65-51.
Yeah, this is a really surprising game. Virginia was winning by 3 with 8.5 minutes to go in the second quarter, or not whole
Half.
quarter, second half.
And then Virginia Tech just
Virginia Tech just absolutely blasted them.
just flipped out that Uno reverse card. Was like, nope.
And yeah, it changed pretty quickly from there. And I think I know where you're going next.
This was a crazy one. Oklahoma making their roundabout back, beating number 9 Alabama 66-61 for its third straight top 10 victory. Dang, Oklahoma.
I believe Oklahoma was the first team to beat 3 top 10 teams since 2014 or 2013, one of those two, but 2013 or 2014, Michigan. Yeah, they're the
that
first
was our
to do it since
championship,
us.
or that was our championship run year, where we lost to Louisville, and Kevin Ware split his leg into
the cheater group. But anyway,
and Kevin Ware split his leg into two.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for putting that picture back into my head.
I feel so bad for the poor dude. That was hard to watch, but that was hard to watch.
Anyways, for Oklahoma, really impressive. They didn't have their leading scorer in Austin Reeves, and also are missing their starting guard. So, really impressive for Oklahoma to pull off this one against a very hot shooting Alabama team. So, I'm impressed by Oklahoma. I think they're pretty good. As for winning a championship, I don't think they're anywhere close, but this is still a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
As for Alabama, they're really good too.
Yeah, Alabama's really good. Texas Tech getting the 76-71 win over LSU. A lot closer than I think Texas Tech fans would have preferred against LSU. Okay. But
I need to talk about this because this is just ridiculous. LSU, guys, come on. They were winning this game by 7 points with 1:14 in the second half. 1:14 in the second half. And they lost by 5. 1:14 in the second half. They were winning 71-64. Texas Tech went on a 12-0 run in just 1:14. LSU, guys.
That's like some straight garbage right there. I don't even know.
I couldn't believe it. I was listening to Florida, West Virginia, which will be our next game, but oh my gosh, that was insane. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me! They won.
That's just
how?
That's just straight garbage.
No.
Straight garbage, LSU. Florida. Anyway, moving on. Florida beating West Virginia 85-80.
Yeah.
So that's
really
an
good
upset.
game. Really good game for the Florida Gators, getting an upset. Obviously missing Keontae Johnson after his collapsing on the court against big rival Florida State. So instead to replace him as their leading scorer with Colin Castleton. We all remember him. But West Virginia, Florida's pretty good. They've been playing really well, so not a bad loss for the Mountaineers, but a loss is a loss. You don't want to lose.
Exactly. All right, and then you got Missouri having to go into overtime to beat TCU. It's starting to look like to me Missouri might be a little highly ranked, a little overranked, just a wee bit.
We're talking about like gigantic collapses. TCU had pretty much the same thing. 5 minutes to go in the second half, up 12 points, somehow relinquished the entire thing, and Missouri went to overtime and ended up beating them by 4.
Why is Saturday just collapse day? Okay, cool. Anyway, moving on. Penn State didn't get the upset against Ohio State, but gets the upset at home against Wisconsin, 81-71.
Speaking of overranked teams. Here's one of them.
Dude, I don't know how Wisconsin's
Not as
still
good as
ranked after
people
getting
think.
pummeled. I don't know how Wisconsin's still ranked when they were losing to Michigan by 40 at one point. Like, I'm sorry, if you are losing to any team by 40, you are not a ranked team. Even if that doesn't stand. If you're losing by 40 at any point, just walk off the court. Just go home.
But yeah, not a good game for Wisconsin, and like I said, they're overrated.
Yeah.
The only reason this team is a little highly ranked is because they have a lot of veteran players that just happen to know what they're doing and tend to come up with some nice plays. But Wisconsin is a very, very ordinary team, and in these next few games, next few days, we're gonna go over. It'll show.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tennessee getting the upset on Kansas, 80-61, solid 40 in each quarter or each half. Kansas did not look that good. Kansas did not look good in this game.
Kansas, they did not look good. I expected Kansas to beat Tennessee, if not roll over them. And instead it was the other direction, and Tennessee rolled over Kansas.
There's so many upsets today.
No, just wait until February 3rd. But Tennessee, nice bounce back. Kansas starting to take some big tumbles. We'll get to another one of their tumbles later, but not a good game for the Jay.
All right, we're gonna have to breeze through these now. So we're just gonna have to breeze through them. All right, so Georgia Tech gets the win, 76-65 over number 16 Florida State. That's a pretty big upset. Florida State, how you gonna go out there and lose to Georgia Tech?
I mean, Georgia Tech's not as bad as people think. They're actually okay. I watched their game against Duke where he lost by 7. They have a really good guard. His name is Jose Alvarado, I believe is what his name is, and he can play really well.
They're still Georgia Tech.
They're okay, honestly. They're not a terrible team. I'm not gonna say they're great, but they're not bad.
Yeah, Florida State should not have lost.
So I'm not gonna argue that,
Yeah.
but they're not as bad as people think.
Creighton, buddies, Creighton. How you gonna almost lose to a 3-7 DePaul team?
Because they suck and they're overrated.
They don't suck, but they're very much overrated. They're just not that great. And here's another one. Purdue blowing out Minnesota by almost 20. And Minnesota was leading at halftime. So guess what happened? Minnesota went from up top to down low as Purdue has a 51-point half. Damn.
Yeah, Minnesota. Still deciding to either blow out someone or get blown out by someone. It still hasn't ended. Look at all their games. They have either blown out or gotten blown out by their opponent. It makes no sense, but here we go again.
And then UCLA.
Nice game for Purdue, but you're talking about UCLA.
UCLA beating Oregon State 57-52. Okay, cool. Nobody cares. Moving on.
Yeah, UCLA barely winning and they're overrated.
Yeah, Houston blowing out SMU 70-48. Yeah, cool. Nobody cares. Moving on. Ohio State putting the hurt on Michigan State 79-62.
Michigan State having actually I think we missed that. But
Michigan
on
State's
Thursday,
having a garbage year.
yeah, we missed that. I forgot to mention it. But on Thursday the 28th, Michigan State. Oh, you'll be back. You're being back. All right, I guess he's taken off. I don't know where he went, but we actually did forget to mention it on January the 28th. I'm gonna mention this again when Serbinsky comes back, because I don't know if you saw it, but Rutgers beat Michigan State in their first game back. It was their first game in 20 days. Rutgers beat Michigan State 67-37. Yeah, Michigan State put up 37 points in the entire game. Not a half, an entire game. I don't know what to say about that. But really not good for Michigan State. And back to their game this time, playing Ohio State and just getting throttled. As much as I hate to say it, Ohio State is good. That's hard coming from a Michigan fan who's got a giant Michigan M over his video because it ain't working. But, yeah, really good game for Ohio State, hard as it is to say. Michigan State, like Cervantes said, just not having a good year. They just don't really have a lot of... What I think Michigan State is missing this year is that interior big man. They just don't have that big man presence that we're all used to. So, just not a good game. I actually forgot to mention it, but on January 28th, I just mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to mention it when you came back. On the 28th, Rutgers and Michigan State got in a rematch. It was Michigan State's first game in 20 days.
Uh-oh.
Rutgers beat them 67-37. Yeah, Michigan State didn't just score 37 points in one half. They only scored 37 points in the entire game.
I love you, Rutgers. I love you for that, Rutgers. I love you for that. And now we're moving on to Monday the 1st, and Oklahoma's time on Cloud 9 unfortunately ended. They came back to reality. I still think they're a great team. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it for a headline. Texas Tech beating Oklahoma 57-52. Very, very slow start for both of these teams. But looks like it was a decent game in the end. But unfortunately, Oklahoma does finally drop a game after 3 straight top 10 victories.
It was a close game throughout. I was watching all of it. And Texas Tech just stayed in front for pretty much the entire thing. When you're missing your top scorer as well as a starting guard, it'll eventually come back to bite you. And it ended up biting them in that game.
Mm-hmm. And then Drake beating Illinois 95-60. Wow.
Illinois, not Illinois.
Or Illinois State. Dang, if Drake just... Whoo!
Just bombing Illinois 95-60. Totally usual.
Tuesday the 2nd, Baylor looking probably...
Oh, sorry. But Drake's still undefeated. Now number 25. Hey, cool. Bad boy Drake.
Congratulations. Baylor beating Texas 83-69. Probably the most vulnerable they've ever looked, but they still looked absolutely just dominant. They looked...
Really. Texas played bad. They did not look good.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like...
Baylor pretty much dominated them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is probably the weakest Baylor's looked, and they still dominated. So that's a little scary. I think they have the 3 best teams right. I think the 3 best teams are Gonzaga, Baylor, and Michigan. It'll be interesting to see which one of those will actually make the championship. Because I think at least one of those 3 is going to be in the championship.
Good luck. You got a lot more upsets to go through.
We're going to be zooming. Oh my word. Okay, time to go zooming. All right, we're gonna zoom. We're not going to talk about these. We're going to zoom through these because we got to go. All right, Iowa beating Michigan State 84-78. Wow, cool.
Close game. Nice job by Iowa. Got back on the winning track. Michigan State not looking good.
Ole Miss getting the upset of Tennessee. We all were thinking Tennessee was overrated anyway. 52-50 win over Tennessee.
They're not good. Ole Miss proving it. Tennessee had the game late and gave it right away to Ole Miss. Not good.
Illinois standing tall in overtime in Bloomington against Indiana, 75-71. I mean, that's always going to be a fun game. Anyone going to Bloomington, it's a trap. Football, it's a trap. Basketball, it's a trap. Indiana is just a trap team. Anytime.
Outstanding game. That was so much fun to watch, and it was just sad that Indiana couldn't pull it off because that would have been an absolutely massive win for Indiana, and they just fell a little bit short. Doesn't really hurt them, I don't think, in the long run. I mean, it will a little bit for a quality win, but just so close yet so far.
Iowa State. I knew Iowa State was bad, but like, bro, what? 2-10? 2-10?
Yeah, they are.
And then West Virginia had played pretty close with them, but West Virginia pulling out with the win. Wisconsin getting revenge against Penn State, 72-56.
Yeah, well, they righted the ship after whatever that was in the first game.
Wow, Kansas bounced back to beat up on Kansas State, 74-51, and Maryland.
Nebraska is the punching bag of the Big Ten.
Kansas
State
State
is the punching bag of the Big 12.
No. Iowa State. And
Iowa State and Kansas State.
I feel like Iowa State plays closer though. I feel like Kansas State is always getting blown out. And then Maryland getting a 61-60 upset over Purdue.
Nice game. Ends Purdue falling just a little bit short. Good luck.
Here we go. Number 3, Villanova, losing by 11 points to St. John's, 70-50. Yikes, dude.
Not a good game for Villanova. Shot 32% for the whole game. That's gonna hurt you in any long run. And yeah, lost by 11 to St. John's. Not a good game. I mean, it's only their second loss.
And you go 2 spots down to number 5 Houston, losing to East Carolina, 73-82. It's Houston.
I mean, Villanova's loss is bad. This is ECU. ECU only, even today, ECU only is the worst team in the AAC. American Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
They're 2-8 in the American Athletic Conference.
Yikes. Anyway.
And Houston gave them their second win. Houston's overrated, in my opinion. They're not that special. They're only highly ranked because they beat Texas Tech, and they haven't really lost anyone else since, except for Tulsa. So
Alabama beating up on LSU, 78-60. Looked like it was close for a while, and then Alabama pulled away.
Well, after that 105-75 game the first time.
Nice to go back.
Huh?
Nice to come back to earth. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, came back to reality, but still Alabama smoked them. I don't think that's what the Tigers were looking for, as they were 11-2, and now they're 11-6.
Yeah. Virginia and NC State. Virginia winning 64-57. Cool.
Close game, but Virginia pulls it off. Game they needed to win.
Georgetown. Oh.
Yep, we got another one.
That's bad. That's
yeah.
bad. I know Creighton's like overrated, but like to lose to a 5-8 Georgetown team by 7,
4-8. That was their 5th win against Creighton. So yeah, not good for the Blue Jays. Georgetown was actually coming off a win after being on a bit of a COVID pause. They were on a COVID pause for a while, and that was their, I believe, 2nd win in a row. So that's still not good for Creighton.
I want the Michigan.
They're not good. We all know they're not good.
I want the Michigan slaughter streak to return. As sad as I am to see the Michigan-Illinois game get canceled, I'm low-key kind of glad our first game in 2 weeks isn't against Illinois.
It'll be Wisconsin.
I'm okay. I'd rather come off a 2-week break against Wisconsin than against Illinois. They're both pretty close. I don't know. We'll see. Pittsburgh getting the upset win against Virginia Tech, 83-72. The ACC is the weirdest conference ever. One team will blow one team out that's really good, and they're like, "Hey, we're good," and then they'll come out and lose, and they'll be like, "Well, unfortunate," and then that team will be good, and they'll go lose. So I don't know with the ACC, but congrats to Pitt on that win.
Pitt's a good team. They got a decent team. I watched them as well against Duke, and they looked all right. They look like a decent team. I wouldn't consider them amazing, but once again, another middle-of-the-road, decent squad, team not to overlook.
Mm-hmm.
Someone to look out for.
Exactly. Number 18, Missouri taking care of business against Kentucky, but avoided a late collapse. Holy crap, Missouri. Oh my
It was cool
gosh.
throughout.
It
So
has top performers for Kentucky is Isaiah Jackson with 8 points. Oh, because he had 10 rebounds. That makes sense.
but
Wait. Oh my god, yeah.
at least they pulled it off.
Yeah,
Not really.
And then the last one, South Carolina pulling off the upset against Florida, 72-66. Upset Wednesday, baby.
Florida, coming off that big win against West Virginia, did not ride that against the Gamecocks. Ended up falling apart and just coming up a little bit short against South Carolina. Ended up losing in their game back. On to Thursday, finally.
Gonzaga beats Pacific 76-58.
Whatever.
Iowa losing at home to Ohio. Come on, Iowa. This is the one game you need to win.
Iowa, this is where they start to have some massive tumbles. But Ohio State pulling off the win by 4. Another game I really didn't see because I was, again, at my adult group. But 89-85, Ohio State pulling it off against Iowa. Not good for the Hawkeyes. And once we get through all the games, I'll kind of explain why I think Iowa keeps losing games. But nice win for Ohio State.
Okay, so apparently,
Unfortunately.
So apparently there was nothing on Friday.
The only Power 5 game there was Penn State, Maryland. And Maryland ended up losing 55-50. Moving on to Saturday.
Number 5 Houston. Number 5 Houston beats Our Lady of the Lake. 112.
Yeah, I have no idea why on earth they are playing. It sounds like Our Lady of the Lakes from Michigan,
right?
High school. So I have no idea who the heck that is.
How do you bounce back against an embarrassing
Houston
loss?
Ended up putting up 60 points in the first half and 52 in the second. So
how do you bounce back after an embarrassing loss to East Carolina? Our Lady of the Lake. All right, we're gonna breeze through these ones. I know Saturday had UNC beating Duke very close, so neither of them are really that good right now.
I mean, it's a rivalry game. It'll always be fun. But the crazy thing about that game was it was the first time neither team was ranked since 1960 playing each other.
Which is crazy. All right.
On to the next upset.
Oklahoma State, upsetting Texas, number 6 Texas in overtime, 75-67.
In double overtime. Really fun game. Oklahoma State winning by 8, like you said. Texas was very, very bad in overtime. They didn't make a single shot in either overtime. They only made free throws. So, yeah, not a good game for Texas. They keep slumping, not looking good.
And Cade Cunningham is definitely the number 1 pick of the draft.
Yeah,
really
well...
There's really no. I would like Cade. I'd like Cade Cunningham. Oklahoma beating Iowa State. Number 9 Oklahoma beating Iowa State 79-72. Kind of an entertaining game. Iowa State's always close. Cool. We need to go. We need to move.
Oklahoma. Not really much more to say. Yeah. I mean, good game for Oklahoma though.
Number 18 Missouri taking down number 10 Alabama in a 3-point upset. Missouri was destroying them at half, and then Alabama came back in, snuck back in, but didn't have enough to win it.
Yeah, the fact that Missouri only won this game by 3 is just really bad. They were up 64-44 with 6 minutes and 18 seconds left to go in the second half, and Alabama almost beat them.
Almost. Came close.
Not good, but yeah. Missouri still winning the game how they like to defensively. But you got to do that throughout the game, and they almost blew it, but still won at least.
Number 11 Tennessee taking care of business against Kentucky 82-71. Had to make a second half comeback yet again to beat Kentucky, but
not really much more to say. Tennessee just winning, ended up pulling it off. I mean, I was watching more of the award show for the NFL and Steve Harvey cracking jokes all the time.
Harvey being part of the PCL.
Okay. Moving on to the next
You
game.
know how I said I'd rather come off of a slump playing Wisconsin than Illinois. Yeah, this proves it. But Illinois blows out Wisconsin 75-60.
Yeah, I've talked about Wisconsin being overrated and they're not that special. Well, here's why. Uh, Illinois destroyed them. So, yeah.
Enough said. Texas Tech beating Kansas State 73-62. There really isn't much more to say about that.
Not really. No.
Virginia taking care of business against Pitt. It was a close game for the most part, but Virginia looks like they held the lead for the most part of it.
They they got the lead up pretty big, and then they just held on to it from there. So nice win for Virginia.
Creighton barely slipping out against Marquette 71-68, proving even further that Creighton is super overrated. Oh my gosh.
Go again.
Virginia.
The Creighton Blue Jays just continue to struggle, and more proof of that very thing.
Virginia Tech, number 16 Virginia Tech, taking care of business against Miami, Florida. Had to go to overtime, though. So, yikes. But
not a game for Virginia Tech, but
Virginia Tech survives. It's a win.
A win's a win.
West Virginia absolutely kicking Kansas to the curb. It's 91-79. Looks like they were in control for the most part of the game.
More or less, yeah. Kansas just did not play well. Kansas was what Kansas was really bad at was they were very, very lazy with the basketball. They turned it over constantly, and they constantly fouled. Not good.
Yeah. Wow, UCLA and USC 68 or 66-48 USC. That is not a fun game.
I watched a little bit of it after the NFL awards show.
I wish I did.
USC and the Mobley brothers obviously are a decent team. UCLA is beyond overrated. Shocker. But good game for USC. Definitely one they needed to win, and they ended up doing that very easily. So nicely done.
Purdue pulling away late against Northwestern. Fun game, but not really much else to say there. Nice to see Purdue ranked.
Crazy thing to say about Northwestern. Rutgers had won their first game since December 29th on January 24th, being Indiana. Northwestern still hasn't won a game since December 26th.
That's crazy.
They're not doing well.
Not at all. And then Drake staying unbeaten, surviving against Valparaiso 80-77. I would assume there weren't very many games yesterday, and I'm right.
Well, there was a big one with Indiana and
upsetting Iowa 67-65.
Well, again, yeah. Iowa was actually leading this one at different points, and they just blew it. And Indiana, with the upset again over the Iowa Hawkeyes, completing a sweep of them for the season. Very good win for the Indiana Hoosiers. And as for Iowa, and I guess I'll just explain why I think Iowa keeps getting beaten by different teams. People are doing one of two things now with the Iowa Hawkeyes. They either are putting all of their defense into stopping Luka Garza and just letting the other guys do what they're going to do, or to go the other direction, let Garza do whatever he's going to do, and then stop the rest. And his supporting cast just doesn't do anything. And that's what's been happening in the last few games. Iowa just keeps getting swamped by everyone, and everyone keeps beating them. And, well, it's not good. It's not good for Iowa. They got to figure something out right now, or they're in trouble.
Which is the biggest thing I'm going to look for when Michigan comes back, to see how Hunter Dickinson does against double teams. Because obviously when we played Minnesota, Hunter Dickinson did not play well when he got double teamed. He had a bunch of turnovers because of that. Villanova beating Georgetown 84-74. Okay, cool. Nothing really much more to say. And then
it was a close game, but Villanova ended up pulling it out in the end.
Yeah. And then Valparaiso got back at Drake, blowing him out. So sorry, Drake. It was nice seeing you, but
and finally Drake falls out as an undefeated team. So now the only two remaining undefeated teams are now Baylor and Gonzaga. Yeah, no more Alabama A&M. They played another game and ended up getting destroyed by, I think it was like Prairie View A&M or something. So,
Yike.
yeah, they are no longer undefeated. It was just Baylor and Gonzaga now.
All right, and then as far as today's games are going, right now, Oklahoma State, Kansas is a tight one, 27-33. Kansas leading it, and Ohio State, Maryland is a tight one with Ohio State winning by 5 currently.
And the crazy thing is, you'd think it's Kansas who's 23rd, but it's not. It's Oklahoma State who's 23rd. So a little bit of history here. This is the first time in a rankings poll since 1961 that Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, and also UCLA. I mean, they haven't been great lately, but still UCLA is a massive basketball program. So UCLA, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, and Duke, first time since 1961, all of them are unranked in the same poll.
That's crazy.
Blue Bloods. What is going on?
That's weird. That's weird. But anyway, we're going to call it there for the day because it was a long episode. Again, hopefully if I can get these things uploading and my internet can actually work, we can see his face again and I can get these things going. But right now...
And also later in the day will be Gonzaga and BYU. Pretty big game. It'll be probably Gonzaga's biggest game of the season, really.
And they'll still win by 60.
Maybe. Who knows?
All right. Peace out, y'all.